Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome back to Brit and Jacob the Movies. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Britton.
We're back from our little hiatus, but it's spooky season, and what better film to talk about than Saw? But as you can see, we have a guest on here, and he is a massive fan of the Saw franchise. Please welcome Brandon White. Brandon, how you doing?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Oh, doing all right, even though this day has been cursed so far. But
Yeah.
Lots and lots of waiting.
But we're here, and we are going to be talking about Saw, directed by James Wan, and it's ended up being one of the most iconic and most successful horror movie franchises ever.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when it like gives so much recognition to not only the series but also James Wan himself as an established director for what we know him now.
Yeah, when I first watched Saw, I knew nothing about James Wan, but then I watched his other films after that, like The Conjuring and all that. But then I went back and rewatched Saw. I was like, oh, James Wan directed it? I had no idea. I'm like, that explains why it's so good. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on the first Saw?
Yeah, I remember Saw being like this like mystical thing when I was in school. Like, oh, it's really intense. And then I finally saw the movies, and there was a part of my life where I was really into Saw for some reason. Like, just the weird convoluted plot twists as it came along were really interesting, and the like weird lore around Jigsaw, like that shit was really interesting to me. I don't know how I don't know how it would be nowadays, but I still think the first one holds up. It does stylistically copy a bit from 7, but it's still a really good movie on its own.
I think for me, it's been a lot of rewatch. There's some times where I love it, and there's some parts I thought was decent, and then now on my recent watch, I love it again. Just because of the concept alone that I find very intriguing, in sense that we don't get horror films like this that has such creativity to it in terms of the premise of something so small and yet can come up so perfect and also super grand, as of course it spawned a lot of sequels from it because of it.
Yeah, and that alone is really inspiring. Like films like Saw or The Evil Dead, directed by Sam Raimi, those films that had very small budgets and made something that has been very impactful in cinema culture. It's really inspiring.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially since with this being James Wan's first film, there's gonna be a lot of challenges of
Yeah,
getting this film made, whether it be through the budget and of course it being his first film. And there's a lot of like restraint in terms of getting the creative idea down. But like what he ends up doing in terms of thinking outside the box is really cool, really creative, and of course very messed up. That gets the job
yeah.
done, especially when half the film takes place in one location
Mm-hmm.
between Leigh Whannell's character Adam and Cary Elwes' character Dr. Lawrence Gorins, who just really work with each other so well.
You know what's
Oh, yeah.
hilarious about this is actually the first place where I actually learned who Cary Elwes was, even before I saw The Princess Bride. And
Me too.
well, maybe Ella Enchanted, but I didn't know who Cary Elwes was before when I saw that movie when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, especially since like Cary Elwes is now known for just not only Princess Bride but also Saw,
Yeah,
as he made himself
Yeah.
as well.
Same with Danny Glover. Oh, Saw, Lethal Weapon. There are a lot of
yes.
actors that I like first discovered in the first Saw movie.
Michael Emerson's in it from Lost, and he was in Person of Interest as well. He was the Joker in the Dark Knight Returns movies. Yeah, a lot of great character actors in this. Also Tobin Bell, of course.
Leigh Whannell, who's the writer of the film as well.
Who also made some pretty good films as well on his own merits. I liked Invisible Man. as well
Same.
as Upgrade. I thought that was particularly freaky for me because I have this weird fear of being paralyzed. So, yeah. Thanks, Leigh Whannell. But apparently this was based on like a short movie he made where basically he was Amanda. They replicate that scene with the,
Oh yeah, I watched that short film.
the saw trap.
Same here. Yeah, it was like it pretty much had the same trap the Amanda used in the short film as well.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they uh linger more on that in the film, which is still one of the highlights of the film for me, due to how cool the trap is, but also Shawnee Smith's performance as Amanda. She was really good.
Very. There's a lot of like cool things that like I didn't even know about because the budget was so low. It's like, for example, Billy the Puppet. Like it wasn't made by professionals because they couldn't afford professionals. Like James Wan created Billy the Puppet by hand. It's like, he just made him by clay, golf balls for the eyes, and just a bunch of other random stuff that he could find around his house to make Billy. I was like, that's cool.
See him just driving around on his little tricycle, like, do or die.
Yeah.
It's your choice. You would think like that's kind of silly, but like it's kind of creepy in the movie.
I was scared shitless of Billy when I was little.
Oh yeah, same here. Like when I was young, I saw like there was like only a website that just only had Billy the Puppet and the tricycle, and that was it. And I didn't know what it was all about, or even heard of the Saw film. I just only know about that puppet, and was like, no, I'm not gonna go any further from that.
And along with that creepy voice from Tobin Bell. Oof.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that Tobin Bell will be the icon here, a horror icon, known for just his intimidating voice and also his fascinating mindset of humanity from his character that can be intriguing but also inconsistent in the sequels.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's because he also trained a bunch of psychopaths to help him out, so that didn't help.
Yeah, that didn't help.
Help me kill bad people with them killing themselves by me.
And then he just like, and then he's just utterly gobsmacked when they start making traps that are inescapable, and he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "You fucking recruited them."
Yeah, the whole point is for them to free themselves, not kill them.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, he wants them to have the choice to escape.
Yeah, if you
Or
want to
have the
live, you gotta
ability
lose
to.
something. You gotta chop off your own arm if you want to live.
Well, he
Or
may
dig
not
out
be.
your own eyeball to live.
Ugh.
Well, he may not think of himself as a murderer, but he definitely assaulted people, or at least attempted murder,
Yeah,
especially what he did to Danny Glover character, and of course a lot of blackmailing, of course.
this is his own unique way of therapy.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm like, dude, just go to therapy. God. Yeah, I know. Like I said, the lore is really what makes Saw interesting, but at the same time, it's really convoluted. Like especially as it goes along.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the first Saw film, there's probably like minor detail that doesn't quite like work out, but like it's a lot less convoluted than something like the sequel,
Yeah,
where it's just like it's hard to maintain the timeline here of what's going on for each event that's going around or taking place either before, during, or after Saw.
yeah. It's like,
Well-
okay, Saw X is between Saw 1 and 2, and Spiral is after all the Saw movies, and it's like, it gets confusing.
I like Saw 1 through 3. Like I think they're actually good movies because like they're all standalone stories. Well, mostly. Like you know, you can watch the first one and understand. It's a cohesive story where you can understand what's going on. And there isn't a bunch of time shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they get to 4, they just throw that shit out the window. They're like, oh, this is between this movie and this is like before this. I'm like, good God. Stop.
Which would make sense because like the first 3 Saw films were written by Leigh Whannell himself, and it was meant to be like the final film of the series, but they decided to make more sequels and have different writers from 4 to 7, and then have even more different writer for Jigsaw and Saw X.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess what kind of frustrates me is, well, for one, what makes Saw unique is that Jigsaw, he's not just like Jason or Michael Myers just murdering people. Like, he has a time limit. Like, he has cancer. It's not looking good for him. You know, he could die. and he does die eventually. But it kind of annoys me then when in the movie he has like this movie where he's like, hey, if my ex-wife dies, kidnap this crazy guy and put him into the bathroom of the first movie. Yeah. You're like, what?
I think another reason why I think the Saw franchise has kind of went downhill is it mostly relied, the bad ones mostly relied on the gory traps instead of the more psychological aspect of it, which I think that's the most important thing about a Saw movie, the psychological aspect of it. But in the sequels, they just mostly relied on the gory traps.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the first 3 Saw films, whether people like them or not, they do tend to focus more not only on the psychological aspect, but also on the character work as well. Where something like 4, 5, 6, 7, like they definitely lean more towards the traps, and at the expense of character development
and plot twists. Don't forget the plot twists.
Yeah, and the
plot twists are always important in a Saw movie.
There's so many. Oh my gosh! Like M. Night Shyamalan probably
M. Night Shyamalan all over again.
Took his pants down and just started fucking jacking it to Saw.
It's like, thank you, James Wan, for the plot twist.
No kidding. I mean, the first Saw film will always have the best twist of every other Saw film.
Oh, by far.
Yeah, either that or Saw 2 for me. I like the twist in Saw 2.
I like the twist toss too, yeah.
Same here.
Because it makes sense to me. Amanda was already pretty unbalanced in the first movie. I'm like, you know what? This makes sense. It makes sense she would join up with this crazy guy. You know?
Yeah.
Especially when Saw 3, like, creates more Amanda's backstory in terms of, like, her connection to John Kramer. And not get too much into it, Saw 10 also expands more on Amanda's connection with John Kramer as well.
That gets me excited to see Saw 10.
It's so good.
I guess what interests me about Jigsaw, at least as a character, is that in his own twisted way, he's trying to help people.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. He's like, well, really, he's getting people to confront their flaws by killing them brutally, probably. By facing them in a literal life or death situation.
He's like, think of it as 3 therapy, but except you're cutting off your arm or cutting off your fingers or digging out your own eyeball.
I know.
So, 3 therapy, but you gotta lose something of your own to live.
Which he thinks he has a moral code. Like, when they get through their test, he pretty much just let them go.
Yeah.
Thinking that they learn a lot from it. Whereas in 6 and 7, they kind of dive a little bit more in terms of the hypocrisy of John Kramer's method of thinking whether or not it made them learn something or not.
Yeah, or just straight up kill him essentially. Like, oh, I'm gonna kill that racist or rapist in the sequels, like 4, 5, or 7. 7 in particular.
Yeah, basically his MO is overcome your flaw or die.
Because
Live or die.
in something like the first Saw film, like these victims, they were there for something like very small compared to like the sequel, where it's just like, oh, you killed this person, or you robbed this bank,
You robbed me
or
my medical care, like in Saw. What was it? Saw 6, where he goes after the guy who denied him his health care.
Because like,
Or
you killed my wife, so I'm gonna.
That too.
Which is still the I love the ending of Saw, the final chapter, just because of how absurd it is. It's like, what? Gordon just comes out. He's like, "Hey, so yeah, John gave me this like VHR. He told me to kill you if you kill his ex-wife." What the fuck?
They try to grab the saw, and then Gordon picks up. I don't think so.
Yeah, I know, it's great.
Throws it.
It's so absurd, but it also kind of makes I'm like, yeah, of course he would rob him of that because that's what he did.
Yeah.
John Kramer is just like a mastermind, if not a god.
The
like
dude's
he
playing
thinks...
like 40 chess. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is ridiculous. I'm just gonna
Exactly.
run with it.
It's like no one thinks this insanely well done.
No.
In the first 3 movies, it felt natural. I guess it felt more real. You know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he tricked, like, if he had, like, he exploits the people's flaws in order to get one over on them. Like, if Donnie Wahlberg's character had been patient and had talked to him like he said he should have, he would have gotten his son back. But he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I also got to piggyback on Brandon said about the first one. It's like, oh, he's killing most of the people he's set his traps in. Are killing them just for little things, like the one in like the flammable gel trap. Like he called in sick, even though he wasn't sick. I'm like, does he deserve to be burnt alive?
Yeah,
like that's the smallest thing ever. I'm like, what?
He has
he got one
skin disease. I'm gonna test him. I'm like, I don't think he can control that, man. I don't think he can.
And because I saw something so small, he got one of the most difficult traps to get through. And it's just a bunch of numbers on the walls for a combination trap. It's like, who can figure this out in such less time?
And I have to step on broken glass, and I'm covered in flammable gel, and the only light source I have is a freaking candle? Like,
which is funny. On that scene, if you look very closely on the actor's feet, you could definitely tell he's wearing sandal.
Oh yeah, like, cause you know you can definitely see the low budget stuff, which I can overlook because it's a low budget film. But there are just little things that I like notice because it's low budget.
I like how in the first movie he just tests Cary Elwes because he's a douchebag. He's just like, you know what, you're a fucking asshole. I'm just gonna test you, put you in this horrible situation. Hey, like cheating on your wife's not a fun thing to do. Don't do that.
If you
there's
think, like, just break up. Simple as that.
Yeah, there were some elements that you could definitely tell the low budget of the film, where something like the one I just mentioned. There's one where with Danny Glover's neck, you could definitely tell the mark was still there before he got sliced.
Yeah. Or there's some shots where there's just random fog. I'm like, realistically, there wouldn't be fog. Or like the driving sequences, like it's just a black background. It's like no lights or nothing.
The car chase.
I forget why he goes after Zepp. Isn't it because he's just like a douche or something? I don't remember. Does it explain in the movie why he went after Zepp?
Oh, yeah. It's because Danny Glover's character, Tap, he was obsessed over Lawrence Gordon because he thought that he was John Kramer, or
Mm-hmm.
the villain,
Mm-hmm. I remember
and
that.
he was stalking his apartment, which has his wife and daughter, and they were kidnapped by Zepp. And so once they saw a bunch of gunshot in the apartment, that's when Tap comes in and goes after Zepp.
Yeah.
And in the least two, probably the funniest part,
When he
unintentionally wise,
shoots
I've
himself.
seen.
Shoots himself. I'm like, dude, this guy is so unlucky. Like, he gets his throat slashed by Jigsaw, and then he goes after the guy he thinks is Jigsaw, and he shoots himself. Poor dude.
That's not what I wasn't thinking now. I was thinking of the car chase scene.
Oh,
Because
Yeah, because I was like,
loses his
okay,
partner,
it's
gets
just about black
throat
background.
slit, gets shot. Poor guy. Poor guy.
it's
Or
the
was it
most
Zepp who
erratic.
shot him?
The car chase scene has the most erratic editing I've ever seen in a Saw film, which is saying a lot.
Oh yeah, and we all know the Saw films like to have that erotic hypersped effect.
Yeah, and it's like entertaining on that end. But
Yeah,
something like the first film, except for the car chase scene, it's really done well. Like for something like Amanda scene, or something going on with Gordon or Adam with
Mhm.
their shit going on. It's just it's not as quote unquote egregious as the sequel.
No,
It keeps it main well-tamed.
Jigsaw completely got rid of that aspect, the whole hyper sped up thing, which I actually do respect about that film, even though I wasn't a huge fan of it. I was like, okay, it feels different in that end, but yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the most well shot and well produced film out of all the Sierra.
Oh yeah, because I was like, okay, it doesn't feel like a Saw movie in that regard with the hyper sped up effects.
Also,
and all
I should
that.
also note, speaking on the people getting shat on in this movie, Adam just gets the fucking brunt end of it. He gets shot. If I remember, wait, is it?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gets shot. He's distrusted. He gets kidnapped, and then he gets left in that room, in that disgusting bathroom. I might add, to die.
Which he put his
And he
hand.
gets electrocuted too, twice.
Oh yeah, yeah. Got electrocuted too.
Smokes a poisonous cigarette.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Which that fake out stat scene, very funny, and I think it was meant to be.
Oh yeah, I think it was meant to be funny.
I mean, what do you think is the stupidest Saw death that you've seen where you were just like, dude? Mine is when that lady sticks her hand in the fucking thing. Because the Mexican guy's like,
Yeah.
hey, you should just do that, get the key. And she's like, okay. So bad.
It's so dumb. It's like, why would you stick your hand in it? You don't know what it could. Wouldn't you like observe it first? Kind of like get like what it is. Oh, those are razor blades. If I put my hand in them, I'll be stuck.
Yeah, he's John Kramer, man. He's a bit on the crazy
When you're
side.
in John Kramer's trap, you got to think things through.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Like, it's really hard to think things through because he doesn't give you a lot of time to do it. That's kind of why I'm like, you know what? Your whole "I gave him a chance to live" thing is bullshit.
Yeah,
Calling
it's
it
like
right now.
it'd be different if I wasn't timed. If I had like 2 hours, okay, that'd be different. But I have like 60 seconds.
But no, in the first movie, I guess it makes sense because like they could have escaped, but they were just kind of. Well, they had the saw, so there you go.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. You guys keep talking.
Also, we were talking about in the first one, he's kidnapping people that have made the littlest mistakes.
Yep.
My guess is that I'm thinking maybe Juan and Whannell were perhaps setting him up to be more of a straight up psychopath. Like in the sequels, they took him in this more methodical, I have a plan type thing. I mean, he obviously had a plan at first and he saw it out pretty clearly, but I think in the first one he was more in the whole psychopath. Oh, I'm enjoying the whole killing part of it.
Oh yeah, especially when he's have more of a sociopathic vibe to it, where something like the sequels, they try to give him like, oh, he's not as bad, or like he has a huge moral code, where he's like an angel in darkness or something like that, and it's
Yeah,
just
or
like
like
it
killing
just
people who deserve to be killed. Like, oh, that guy is a racist. Oh, he is a rapist.
hmm
Instead of killing people in the most littlest things. Oh, he called in sick even though he wasn't sick.
My favorite, just the like really petty one, is like when he goes after the guy who denied him his health care. I love it.
Oh,
That
and
is
six.
such an
Healthcare.
like, look, that would piss me off, but like to get so mad at that guy and then like put him in these death traps is just like I love it.
Oh, that guy coughed on me. He gave me corona. So I'm gonna put him in a trap.
Yeah, no, if like John Kramer got like coughed on and got corona, he would just target that guy. He's like, "You were being inconsiderate."
Even though I already have cancer and I'll be dead soon, but still.
Which I gotta add, in since 2006, he literally put one of the victims in because he smokes. That's literally it.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot all about that.
That guy's a smoker. Now you're gonna die for the consequences.
And,
Or
and he puts him in the
that
trap.
guy's an atheist. He deserves to die. I didn't know you were religious, Kramer.
Like, there's some that, okay, like, in this movie, it usually it makes sense why he goes after them. Like, Adam was, like, photographing people, and Lawrence Gordon's kind of a dickhead.
And had an affair.
That's true, he did that, too. Going back to, he's a dickhead. Cary Elwes is really good at playing just douchebags. Like, he's really... Like, do you see the Stranger Things season he was in, where he played the mayor?
I have not.
I have heard that he was in it.
I was about to say, he's fantastic.
Okay.
What else was he a douche in? Oh, Ella Enchanted, of course. Did you guys ever watch that movie?
Yes, I
No,
have.
Never seen that?
not yet.
But,
It's been a minute since I've seen that.
But, yeah, Zepp, I guess he just didn't like him or something, I don't know. Amanda, she was on drugs, so I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, the first three movies, like, it makes sense why he targets everybody.
In most.
Oh yeah.
With the flammable gel trap, I mean, that was, like, completely over-exaggerated, but...
Fucking Jello.
I'm on that, but it's just, like, the most ridiculous reason. And he gets the worst out of it. He gets burned alive.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no explanation in terms of why John Kramer has a thing with Zab. Like,
oh yeah, he burned the dude alive because he was like lazy. I'm like, dude, like.
John Kramer is a wacko. What
Yeah,
can I
he
say?
is.
Yeah.
But it's interesting in terms of like, because with James Wan as the director, he always puts an actor that you would not expect from like typical films they're in. Like with the Saw film, Cary Elwes and two of the actors from Lost, Michael Emerson and Ken Leung, who plays Zing,
Mhm.
and James Wan's other films like Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon and Aquaman with like someone like Willem Dafoe or Nicole Kidman. He has a way of putting actors in films that are way out of their comfort zone, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you think of the actors that have been in James Wan's films, you're like, oh, I didn't expect them to be in that type of film genre. Nicole Kidman in Aquaman 2, or, oh, Willem Dafoe in Aquaman.
Oh
or
yeah.
like Kelly Preston in Death Sentence. I'm like, oh, that's fascinating.
Didn't
Or
he
Danny
do that?
Glover.
Didn't he do that one with the puppet as well?
Yeah, Dead Silence.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Which
that one.
Donnie Wahlberg is in that too.
Oh, yeah. Is he? God,
Yeah.
he loves putting that man through the ringer.
Put him through the ringer more. I want to see more of him. Come on.
Oh, same.
He
He was so good.
I would say he got the
fairly
shittiest
underrated
end.
actor.
He probably got the shittiest deal out of all of them, but at the same time, he was like this huge asshole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the end of it all, my head was completely crushed by 2 ice blocks. So.
I guess there's worse ways to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, which ignites the theme song of the Saw franchise.
The Hello Zep.
Yes. Yeah. So good.
Definitely one of the most iconic horror movie themes ever. When you think of it, you're just like, oh, that's Saw.
Oh, yeah. Like Charles Closer, he did a really good job with the first film. That feels so different from your typical horror film in terms of the electronic music and the industrial music as well. Whereas in other horror films, it's kind of typical.
It's more traditional in other horror films. In Saw, it feels very different. As you said, it's very electronic and feels a bit modern.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like that. I'm like, this is a very unique horror movie theme. Doesn't sound like any other horror movie theme.
Agree 100%.
But I guess with us kind of screwing around here, I guess we should really get into what this movie is about. So basically, the hook of the movie is thinking about the inflammable Jello trap again.
Yeah.
It begins
I had
with
to point it out. I'm sorry.
it begins with Adam and Gordon waking up in the bathroom. The most disgusting bathroom too. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's just ugh.
It gets so iconic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
God, it just makes me ill. Or not ill, but I'm just like, I want to take a shower after seeing that bathroom. And there's also a dead.
Don't want to take a shower. Like, my god.
There's a dead body in the room though. He looks like he shot himself, and they start freaking out. Or alleged dead body.
Dead body.
I'm not dead. He's not quite dead yet.
He's not quite dead yet. Yeah, it's
not quite yet.
I mean, definitely then it kind of turns into like a 7. Kind of turns into a 7 kind of playoff.
Yeah.
With the 2 detectives, and but yeah, it begins with Adam waking up in the bathtub, and his ankle is chained to this very rusty pipe. And across the room is Gordon. And they realize, oh shit. So there's a recorder, and there's a revolver, and then they hear the iconic "Live or die, the choice is yours."
Hello, whatever your name is.
Which I don't think they mentioned that for Dr. Gordon and Adam. It's just more so of the objective, which is to kill Adam. Mm-hmm. If not, Diana and his daughter would die.
Yeah, it's either shoot Adam or your family dies. And Gordon's like, shit. And I really like how Wan and crew really managed to create tension, even though those 2 guys are just stuck in the room as their situation becomes more desperate.
Oh, yeah. I think what makes it more intense is that it's very claustrophobic, because they're 2 men just stuck in a fairly small bathroom. and they're trying to figure out like, okay, how do we get out of here?
Which this movie is one of the smarter Saw films to ever create, because some of the decisions that they made are so smart that if I was in their shoes, I would not done any of that.
Oh no, not at all.
I'd be like, how the fuck are we gonna get out of here?
How about we think it through? It's like, okay, maybe this is a game.
They try to saw through the chains at first, but then they're like, fuck this. This ain't gonna work.
Which I could nitpick about like other things that they could have like sawed, like the rusty pipe.
I know, right? They could have
they could have taken like the back of the toilet seat and just beat it with brute force, because you can unlock locks with brute force. It's like little things like that. I'm like, oh, you should have done that, but I'm like, it's nitpicking. I'm like, I can look past that, but I'm just like, if I were in there, I would go for the rusty pipe first.
And he's like,
I would agree.
He's like, I don't think this is meant for. I don't think it's meant for us to saw through. And Adam's like, well, fuck, what are we gonna do? And he's like, saw through the foot.
He doesn't want to cut through the chain. Wants us to cut through our feet. Or how about the rusty pipe?
Then we learned through a flashback that Gordon was actually a suspect because they found his pin light, if I remember, at one of the places. But Gordon's alibi checked out. But there's this one guy called David Tapp, played by Danny Glover, who is just, he has a huge hard-on for wanting to, he really thinks that Gordon is the guy. Well, it goes very well, is all I'll say. He just kind of, he goes through the movie practically unscathed, I would say.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Is there really a reason why he's so like dead set on Gordon? I mean, the pin light is like there, but like they didn't think like, well, what would his motive be?
I mean, I feel like his sudden interest in Gordon and the Jigsaw Killer, I just feel are very random. I was like, okay, that's one of my issues with the first Saw. It's like, okay, I do think Danny Glover's character is a little bit underdeveloped.
Yeah, he kind of seems unhinged at points.
Yeah.
He really
was. Like, what's your real motive? Like, this feels so random.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about nitpicks? There's one where Miles from Saw walks over, shoots him in the back with a shotgun, and he just gets up like it's nothing. He's all like, oh, it's all right, I'm fine. And he runs off. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
There are some nitpicks in the first Saw. I can overlook
sure.
I can overlook a lot of them.
There's also Adam recounting how he found how he got there. He's like, I remember I was taking photos, and this pig guy came out of nowhere, and I showed up here. I forgot how Gordon got captured, though. I think he was just kind of... Do you guys remember it all?
It was when he was done with his assistant, he went to his car, and... fuck. I just watched the movie. And there was a... Oh, wait. There was a pig guy just crawling out of his car.
Oh, I remember.
And just went after him.
So yeah, that's right. Also, that pig mask is creepy as hell. I'm guessing that's John in there in the.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
If not, Amanda.
Yeah. The other person who.
One of the things I really like about this movie, and it just is about the twist, is that I guess kind of goes into the twist, but I like how John is just there in the background, like he's just kind of like, oh, here's that guy. You know, like he's in the hospital just chilling, and then it's like, oh, there he is. He's the guy.
Like a mysterious figure.
They do end up finding Amanda, and we finally see the iconic bear trap on her face. She ends up having to kill a guy, and finding the key in his stomach, which.
Who Jigsaw said, "Oh, it's in the stomach of your dead cellmate, but he's alive." I'm like, fuck.
Dude's twisted. So then Tap and Sing end up going to Jigsaw's warehouse because they found it somehow. Again, it's been a while since I've seen the first movie. Oh yeah, they found the video. They found the videotape from Amanda's thing. And there they apprehend Jigsaw and they save a guy from the trap, but then that's when we get the infamous throat cut scene, and he runs, and then again, I always, this part always bugs me, but like he runs down the hallway, Sing shoots him in the back with his shotgun, which that should probably take him down. He gets up and just walks it off like he just like, oh, 'tis a flesh wound.
You know why he survived those? Because he's Batman.
Oh my god.
I had to.
It's like Hishy. Have you ever?
Yeah.
We've talked
That's
about
what made me
Hishy
think of
before.
it.
Have you ever seen the Hishy parody of Saw? It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, that shit's hilarious.
He's like, oh, Scrabble. You want to play Scrabble? Get me out of here. He's like, okay. Oh, you want to play Monopoly? He's like, no. It's great. Go watch the Hishy Saw video. It's fantastic.
Sequels. Lots and lots of sequels. He wears 3D glasses.
Wait, what'd you say?
Then Billy the Puppet said, oh, wait.
Oh. I could think of two reasons why he might survive that shot. One, it was a shotgun, so it was short range.
Yeah,
he was kind of far away. Or two, bodyguard.
Yeah, I was about to say he might have been I was about to say I could nitpick that, but at the same time, like, for one, shotguns aren't very long range, and also it doesn't it probably wouldn't. He probably has like body armor, or he probably has like a bulletproof vest or something on.
Yeah.
He's probably like, ah, damn, I felt that. I bet he probably felt that.
Oh yeah.
Like, ow. Ah, that hurt, but I'm good. Danny Glover.
Yeah, so then he runs into a shotgun trap and just blows his face off. I'm like, ooh.
I also love how James Wan has filmed certain scenes. Like, most of them you don't even see, like, oh, that guy's head blown off. Or, oh, Gordon cutting off his own foot. It's like, oh, he cuts away from him. Like, okay, I like that. But I think that makes me squeam more that he cuts away from him and you see their reaction to what they're doing. But in the sequel, they just show it. It's not as effective for me, personally. I mean, it's gross, but I'm just like, I'm not squeaming.
It's a lot more grisly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of becomes like, it kind of gets rid of the soul. It's just kind of like, oh, look at these cool traps we made up. It's like, no.
That guy's head was blown off, and you see the entire thing. I'm like, no, it's not as cool. It's not as cool for me. When you cut away from it, the mystery behind it, I was like, and thinking about it, I'm like, ooh, that makes me squeam even more, and I like that more.
I agree.
But yeah, in the present, we see that Gordon's wife and daughter are being held at their apartment as their captor watches them on a computer screen, a very old early 2000s computer camera system. On the meanwhile, Tap, who's basically just gone down the freaking rabbit hole of being obsessed with Jigsaw and is convinced that, again, for some reason, is just convinced that Gordon did it, even though it's very clear that he didn't. Though that's kind of a case of dramatic irony, because like we know he didn't do it, but he does not.
Yeah, and it's very much so after what happened to his partner. that got him even more obsessed.
Yeah, I mean, losing your partner, that happens, It just...
Can kind of lose your marbles a bit.
Yeah, but, he's basically unhinged throughout the rest of the movie. He's just like, Jigsaw! Yeah! And he gets shot
Very
for
true.
trouble.
I'm so fascinated by him.
He's like, it's Gordon. I can feel it in my bones. And it's like, no, it's not.
That guy who has cancer, he's about to die? That ain't him. He's gonna die soon. No, it's definitely Gordon.
No, I mean, okay, let's just say, we're saying this with the benefit of hindsight, because, and also in the movie, he doesn't know, because he's not, he doesn't know, he doesn't see that, Gordon's being held captive. But yeah, he ends up by the way, Gordon ends up finding a, cigarette, and he finds 2 cigarettes, a lighter, and a cell phone. And then that's how he says when he kidnapped Jigsaw.
Then Adam says, "Oh, the second most beautiful invention on this planet."
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'm like, when he finds a cell phone in there, he's like, "Oh, the most beautiful invention on this planet." Then he pulls out the cigarette. The second most beautiful invention on this planet. Give me that sweet cancer, baby.
Oh my god.
and Adam says that.
Aren't those cigarettes poisoned, if I remember right?
They are poisoned.
It's the blood.
Jigsaw even leaves them a note. It's like, "Oh, they're harmless, but just tell them they're poisonous," from what I remember.
It was the blood that was more poisonous.
Oh, yeah, it was the blood. Oh, I didn't remember. It was the blood that was poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, "Oh, the cigarettes, they're fine."
So Allison, his wife, calls him and is like, "Don't believe Adam!" And then Adam's all like, "Hey, I was one of those paparazzi guys who, was sent to spy on you. Sorry, bro." And he's like, "It's fine, whatever." We're in this together now. I love how blasé Gordon is about it. He's like, "Well, we're in this situation now. There's no..." And he's also like, "Yeah, I also saw you banging your, what was that fucking lady's name? I don't even remember now."
Diana.
What? Diana? Yeah. And he's like, and Gordon's like, this is probably why I'm in this situation. Because he knows about the Jigsaw killer, because, he was interrogated. And then Adam ends up finding a photo of his wife and daughter's captive, who is actually Zepp, played by Michael Emerson of Lost fame. This is also where I first discovered Michael Emerson, before I even knew of his roles on Lost. I'm like, oh, that's the Saw guy!
I've discovered pretty much most of the actors in the first Saw. Cary Elwes, Danny Glover, and Leigh Whannell.
Well, I knew Danny Glover from, Lethal Weapon,
Yeah. I saw Saw before Lethal Weapon, then I watched Lethal Weapon, I was like, oh, Danny Glover from Saw.
For me, Danny Glover, it was more so in 2012. That's how I got to know him.
2012, out of all the movies with Danny Glover in it? Freaking 2000.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my god. You've never seen 2012?
I mean, I've seen clips of it, I know the beats of it, but haven't watched the thing fully.
I was about to say, it's pretty ridiculous, but it's a fun movie.
Oh yeah, from what I've seen, it looks absolutely ridiculous.
There's this one scene where this fat Russian guy has just been a dickhead the whole movie. He's just falls off the boat. He's all like, "No." It's so stupid. It's hilarious. I love it. It's great. So on the meanwhile, Zepp sees that Gordon has still not killed Adam and decides, you know what, I'm just gonna murder Allison and Diana. But don't worry, Allison, she's one of those girl boss characters, and she just gets out of her restraints and attacks him, and then we get the gunshots, which that's what gets Tap's attention, and then we get this really great chase scene through the oh damn it, it's through it's like the hallway leading to the bathroom.
Yes.
And then he just gets fucking shot. You're like, this dude is just unlucky. I'm telling you. This guy is just like, he just gets shot, you know? He's like, oh, I guess he's gonna... It's never clear if he died or not, though. If I don't know if y'all played the video game, but he's like the protagonist of the video game.
Yeah. He survived. But in the games, nah.
Let's just soul. That's all I'll say.
So then he hears the gunshots, and then he gets freaked out, and then that's finally when we get the saw foot off, which.
Yeah.
I don't know. That scene is like it's messed up, but like there's the like when he goes through his fucking shirt, it makes me laugh.
And there's one thing I have to point out. Like, okay, and there's one thing I have to point out. It's like, okay, this guy cut off his own foot. It's like, okay, cutting off your own foot, like when you see, oh, my foot's not there anymore. You would think you'd pass out, right? Because, like, I cut off my own foot.
I mean, they do kind of play it because he looks all fucked up for the rest of the movie. Like he's all pale and like sickly. Yeah. So I mean, it works fine for me. But like,
yeah, but I'm just like
when he saws it off, like he's fucking going at it, man. He's fucking like, yeah. I know he's like desperate, but like, fuck, man.
And again, I love how it doesn't show, like, oh, him cutting off his entire foot. It's like, okay, just few shots of him touching skin and bone, and that's it. You just see his reaction on cutting his own foot off. I'm like, holy shit, that makes me squeam.
I agree. It's
just... and then he shoots Adam. Adam's like, oh, God, please! You know, it just starts fucking going on his thing.
I want to live!
I'm about to die.
Yeah, and then he just and then he shoots him. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's the end of that. And then fucking Zepp walks in, and this is actually probably my favorite scene of the movie, where he's all like, you're gonna die here. And then Adam just fucking springs back to life, struggles with him, grabs the toilet seat, and just fucking beats him to death with it. I love it. It's
surprise! Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, I know. It's my favorite scene because it's like, oh man, it's so much tension, and it's like, you're just, oh my god.
So intense, so suspenseful.
Yeah, I know. And he's all like, Zepp, you did this? And he's all like, no. And then I love the scene where he just like crawls over. He looks all fucking sick and death. He's about to die. He's all like, I'm gonna go get help. And he's all like, don't leave me. It's almost like they're like lovers at this point.
Romance.
Can you get me mouth to mouth? Even though I'm breathing, but still.
Even though I sawed my foot off, I'm gonna go get help.
Jeez. And he didn't.
And he didn't. to be fair, Brandon, he sawed off his foot and it's like fucking bleeding out. Like he was not gonna make it very far. Like, come on.
That's very true.
He probably wasn't gonna make it that far.
Looking pale as hell. Like, yeah, there was no way.
Yeah, I remember when I saw him in Saw 7. The final chapter, I'm like, oh, he survived. All right, okay. All right. Good to see you again. And then he, like, crawls out of the bathroom, and then Adam's, like, looking through Zepp because he thinks that Zepp is Jigsaw. But then we get the mic drop of the movie where it turns out that Zepp is just another victim, and he's like, you have a slow acting poison going through your system. If you don't do this, then you're gonna die.
Pretty much.
Let me get the freakiest scene of the movie. Fucking here, the guy who we thought had committed suicide gets up and just it's so like, and it's like also the music of that scene is so good, and it's just like he just sits up and he's all like, I love how he just goes, the key to that drain is in the bathtub. And that's one thing I'm like, how the fuck were they supposed to know that? Like, you just threw him in the bathtub, and they're like, oh, no. That's why I think his whole I gave him a chance to live is bullshit, I'm just like...
Oh, yeah, me and Brandon were talking about it when you left for a minute. It's like, Yeah, I think in the first one they were setting him up to be more of a straight up psychopath. Like, oh, I'm enjoying the whole killing part of it. Where in the sequels he's killing genuinely bad people who are like evil.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, he's just doing it just for the fun of it. It's like, yeah, you weren't never gonna find a key, but I just wanted to point it out because why not? Because I'm a
troll.
Yeah, and then he walks out, and Adam's just like, "Wait, don't leave me!" And then he just starts shrieking like a maniac, and he just goes,
Ooh.
"Game over." End of the movie. Might be one of
He
the
tried to
best
shoot
horror.
him.
Might be one of the best horror film endings of all time. I definitely think so.
I love that you can still hear Adam's reaction when the credits roll. Just adds to the scariness even more. I'm like, ugh. Like, my God, I can't even imagine him just being stuck there, starving to death in pure darkness.
That scream was so iconic that they used that scream for a trailer for Hard Candy.
I remember
Really?
that.
That's
Yeah.
I recognize the immediately. It's like, that's the exact same scream in the first Saw by Adam.
Mm-hmm.
which is also a very good movie with Patrick Wilson and Elliot Page, no longer Ellen Page. But Elliot Page before he was Elliot Page. Or, it's back when he was Ellen Page.
Mm-hmm.
That must be awkward, watching Juno now, since he's a guy.
Eh.
I'm just like, oh yeah, Elliot Page. Yeah. Inception. Yeah, Elliot Page.
Still a good movie.
Very good.
Regardless.
Still my favorite Nolan film.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He tries to shoot John with Zepp's gun, and he just fucking zaps it out of his hand. He's like, oop, nope.
If Thanos was there, he would have said, you should have gone for the head.
Yeah, he should have been like, should have gone for the head. Yeah, no, that's a messed up ending, though. He's just, left him there, and he's like, that's kind of shitty.
Oh, yeah.
Very.
But still good.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Very impactful.
Very cool twist. One of the most iconic horror movie endings ever.
Yeah, though, I do think I saw the final chapter when, Gordon reveals, oh, I'm one of the apostles now. And, he found him just, laying there, and he, cleaned his wound of, oh, man, oh.
He realized, oh, he just passed out. And then Kramer finds him. It's like, yeah, you survived. Let me help you clean up that wound, and I'll give you a prosthetic leg.
And also work with me.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It's kind of his MO. He's like, hey, Amanda, you survived, so why don't you come along? She's like, okay, but, Gordon's a doctor. With Amanda being one of the apostles, it makes sense, she's a troubled person with a lot of issues. With Gordon, he's just I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Calling the cops.
I had to cut my own foot off thanks to your ass.
I know. Or maybe
I
I'd be
haven't
like,
read.
yeah, cool, and then I get the cops to get a sting operation or something. That's the one thing that kind of I'm like, how does Gordon go from just hapless victim to, man, I'm totally down with this.
Yeah, we'll be
Well,
best
they never
friends.
know.
I'm like,
Come
how
home
did he
for
not
Christmas
just go,
dinner one day.
I know the guy, his name's John Kramer, he was one of my patients. Go get him.
Oh, yeah, and he was the Jigsaw killer, but I invite him over to Christmas dinner every year. But he's dead, by the way, so.
There was something that I put down as a note that needs to be addressed.
Okay, what's that?
There's one line in the film that stood out so much to me, and it's from Adam, and I have it written down. It said, I don't care if you cover yourself in peanut butter and had a 15-hooker gangbang.
What? Well, damn, Adam.
Yeah.
It does sound like something Adam would say, though.
No, like legit.
Yeah. I'm like, that's such an Adam thing he would say.
He even brought up eBay too as a reference.
Yeah,
Because he said like
tells you
Yeah.
how
It's
old it is.
it's like they'll sell you kidneys in eBay.
And I'm like, I don't think that's how that works, but okay. Black Web wasn't a thing. I guess not. But yeah, that's Saw. Man, it's a pretty good movie, though. I mean, in that kind of style, I'd say 7's better. But yeah. You know me, I'm a 7 fanboy.
You should love Fight Club, but I digress.
What? What'd you say, Jacob?
What?
You should love Fight Club, but I digress.
I don't hate it, Jacob. I've told you this. Like, come on.
Just wait until me and Raymond be on your ass like a fly on an African person in a hot desert sun when we get to
Wait
Fight
a
Club.
second. You don't love Fight Club?
Me? No, I do not. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. I'm not as in love with it as other people are.
How dare you? No, I'm just shit talking. You're fine. No, I get it.
But yeah, Saw. It led to a bunch of other movies. So, what's your favorite of the Saw movies? I would probably say mine's a cut up between 1 and 2 because, like, I like the twists in those movies. 3's also pretty good too, but the rest of them, like, it's one of those where, like, you kind of have to go with the absurdity of the whole thing. If you can just embrace the absurdity of it all, like, they're actually not terrible, but you'll really have to stretch your suspension of disbelief a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd say my favorites is 1, 2, and 6.
Oh wow, no, 6.
Okay.
Really like 6.
I like 6.
I agree. That's one of my favorite ones as well.
You mean when Roderick and his mom get revenge on the guy who screwed John Kramer out of his healthcare?
I was like, oh, hey, that's Roderick.
Yeah. I remember watching. I'm like, hey, that's Roderick. What? Hey.
Ooh, song. But my favorite Saw films are either it was 1 and 6, mostly 1, but now it's 10. It's the latest one.
I still have to see it because Brandon has been hyping me up about seeing it. I'm like, I really want to see it. Like, just seeing, like, finally getting a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm like, hallelujah.
So, I have to ask, have you guys seen Spiral? Does it basically just say fuck it to reality and have, like, John Kramer come back to life?
No, John Kramer is not in the movie at all.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's why it sucked.
The movie sucked. It was bad.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, I gave up once, like, I saw Jigsaw. I'm like, guys, just stop. Ugh.
I was like, first watch, I was like, okay, this is okay, but not great. I'm like, okay, I like Chris Rock's idea. But then I watch over again, I'm like, okay, the social commentary is way too in your face. And I'm just like, this is not what we want. Like, it has to be subtle. Like,
no
all
wonder
right?
Will Smith slapped him with that level of commentary.
That was a bad movie, Chris. How dare you?
That ending pissed me off when I saw that video.
So what was Chris Rock the killer the whole time?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
You just have to watch it and just find out. Oh my god. Ugh, that was bad.
It's funny because the original idea for that film is that the writers of the film who did Jigsaw was going to do a film that was very much Saw 10, but by focusing more on John Kramer's. But the producers of the studio came up to Chris Rock, who told them he was a fan of the Saw franchise, and let him do it.
Yeah,
and because of it, we have Spiral instead of Saw 10.
Yeah.
The one thing
And
I
the
find
unorthodox
unbelievable, apparently
choice,
Samuel L.
like,
Jackson
Chris
plays
Rock
his
and Assault.
dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what
Yeah,
the
he's in it.
fuck? Like, is that even possible? They're the same age.
It's a Saw film. I just
Yeah.
take it for what it is.
Yeah, just take it for what it is, even
More
though it's like
ludicrous things have
realistically.
happened.
I mean, they don't look like they could be related, but whatever.
Like brothers, okay, but like father and son, no.
Yeah, I don't see the resemblance.
Brothers,
And they were like,
the like
Chris
kooky
Rock in a
uncle,
Saw
okay, maybe.
film? That's interesting. Like, why the hell not? It's an unorthodox choice. Like, Chris Rock in a Saw film, who would think?
Or Samuel L. Jackson in the Saw
Yeah,
film.
it's like, want to play games, motherfucker?
Just pulls out a gun and just starts shooting.
That was a lie in the film.
Shooting everything.
Oh.
I'll play a game, motherfucker. I'm like,
Lord
this
Jesus,
is
let me
yeah,
kill
it's
this
just classic
jigsaw.
Samuel L. Jackson. I would say that I do like that line because it's like so classic Samuel L. Jackson. I'm like, want to play games, motherfucker?
Just pulls out like 2 guns and starts shooting. Buddy.
You only have
Game
one
over,
gun.
motherfucker! No, seriously, the first Saw has a very good twist. I really enjoy it. It's a really damn good movie.
I
Oh
agree.
yeah. I still love the first Saw. Mostly like just it's so inspiring. Like, okay, 2 creative people coming up with this cool concept and making a film out of nothing because the budget was like $1 million. So
What would you say? Oh, sorry, Jacob, continue what you were saying.
oh yeah, and to see it become such a big franchise is like inspiring. This one indie movie becoming so big and so iconic. It's
It was, yeah. It was even in Sundance Film Festivals, a fall festival, and due to the audience feedback being overwhelming, they put in theater. I'm like, damn.
like, yeah, that's saying a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's a very good movie. Again, does it rip off Seven a little bit? Yeah, it does a little bit, but it's still a pretty damn good movie, and I enjoy watching it. Like on Halloween, I enjoy it. It's fun time.
I agree. There are some comparisons to Seven that can never be denied. Like, even though Saw took away a lot of the religious aspect, even though the sequels, it kind of regained a little bit of that.
A little bit, yeah.
But I still have fun. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's
no,
one of the only.
I'm not saying that as a detriment. I'm just saying,
Oh, yeah.
like, it's just kind of like, the atmospheres are a bit similar. I wonder where they got that idea from. And now James Wan is known for, like, The Conjuring, and, I had some people the other day who saw The Nun 2, and I'm like, I saw the first one, and that was all I needed to know.
That was terrible.
Not a good
terrible.
film.
It's not even directed by James Wan, and it shows.
Yeah, it definitely shows. It's like, yeah, it's definitely not James Wan. Like, that explains why it's bad.
I fucking hate jump scares because they fucking get me all the time. I'm a jumpy person, okay? And I hate them. Even though I know what's gonna happen. I hate them. I hate jump scares. Fucking stupid.
It could be effective.
Even though if some of them I could see coming a mile away, they still get me.
There's some you can do them well. It's just kind of oversaturated.
Exactly.
But
Like-
not how a lot of them. Shit.
You still get jumped, no matter how loud it is or how effective it is.
Yeah.
The one thing I always wondered with the Saw franchise is if James Wan want to come back to make another Saw film, what would he do, essentially?
Yeah, what would the story be? It's like, will it take place after all the Saw films or way before the first Saw film even happened? Like, just a chronologic aspect of the Saw franchise is like confusing for people.
I did get around to seeing Jigsaw, and the thing I thought was stupid was that it took place before any of the movies. I'm like, why?
before and after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before and after. I'm like, why?
Confusing as hell.
Because twists.
I know. You know what? Actually, what's the most absurd twist from Saw? Mine is easily the final chapter when it's like just
I
3
agree.
twists at the same time.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, Saw 3D. Yeah.
Mine is this: Gordon turns out to be working with him. Then it turns out John actually had this arranged somehow. And then he leaves him in the bathroom. And like, oh, this is okay. This is too absurd, even for me.
What? Saw 7 has the most ridiculous twist ending, but Spiral has the twist ending that pissed me off the most.
Yeah, that has the most frustrating twist ending. Like that twist ending pissed me the hell off.
Was it because it was obvious? Did it just come out of nowhere?
No, it wasn't because it was obvious. It's because of what it was trying to do that doesn't feel validated for this to be in the film, let alone a Saw film. Because Saw, as a franchise, is one of those series that you can't take seriously and just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But with this movie, it tries to be more than that, and
Yeah.
it falls flat right on his face.
Yeah, the whole social commentary of it all, that alone is just
So what
very
is it, like a
pandering.
white guy murdering
Just like-
black people? Is that it?
You're not that far off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not that far off at all.
What is it like? It's a spiral because I don't like race mixing or something stupid like that.
It's not that.
That would be fucking hilarious if that were real. That would be funny. Like, that would be awful, but that would just be like, oh my god, they're really going thick with the social commentary.
Like
Killing bad cops.
Saw 6 does have some social commentary, but it's not in your face, and
Yeah.
it's not the whole movie like Spiral is.
Yeah, Spiral is the entire movie, and there are other issues I have with this Spiral film, but yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it.
I think Saw 7 was just them I think Saw the final chapter was just them going, you know what? This has become so ridiculous. We're just gonna fucking go for it, you know?
And make it 3D to add to the more.
We're gonna make it as ridiculous and unrealistic as possible. Like, there's a scene in that movie with like a machine gun. You're like, dude. Oh.
Like, Saw 7 is one of the worst one, but I can't blame the director or the writers for it, because Saw 6 was underperformed box office wise, that the producers wanted to just make one more film instead of 2 films. And so because of it, those 2 Saw films went into one. And because of it, it's convoluted and
Very.
all over the place.
And completely ludicrous.
Exactly.
Yep, that too.
Because that's what I remember about 7. It's just absolutely ridiculous throughout, from scene 1 to the very end.
I mean, it was in 3D, so that's saying something. Add onto ridiculous even more.
And
Like,
it's
okay,
the
there's
first...
the drama with Hoffman and John's ex-wife. Then there's
Jill.
the fake guy, the guy who claimed he survived the whole thing. And then Gordon comes back into the fucking picture. It's insane. It's insane.
And it's the first Saw film I noticed where the blood didn't even look like blood. It looked
No.
pink.
It was like
Like-
pink blood. I was like, that's
Yeah.
not blood.
It was so weird. It's so cheap looking.
You couldn't
Which is-
afford to buy fake blood. It's like, okay, they bought like, oh, next quick milk mix and just mix that up. It's like, oh, there's your blood.
Yeah.
Also, 5.
Like strawberry milk.
I remember 5 not being too bad. Or was it 4 when it's the FBI agent going after?
I think 5
4.
is very boring.
4.
Personally.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, I was about to say 4. That movie wasn't bad.
4 had the most outrageous transitions.
Yeah.
and they're hilarious.
Kind of underwhelming way to get rid of Jeff, though, in that movie, where he's like, "You kill my daughter," and he just fucking shoots him. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I personally think 5 is very boring.
5 is boring. I agree with Jacob on that one.
No, I mean, five's the one about the Saw's. 5's the one about the FBI agent trying to catch Hoffman, right?
Yes.
Oh, I like that one. I thought that was okay.
I'm sorry, it was boring as hell. Even though I think 7 is worse personally, I think 5 is.
I'd say 7 is probably the worst. Here's the thing about Saw: none of them are like terrible. Like, it just comes convoluted after a while. Like, they really got obsessed with the twist, and you're just like, you don't fucking need it.
Like Kingdom Hearts, convoluted.
Yeah.
And relied on the gory traps instead of the whole psychological aspect of it.
Pretty much.
I'm like, okay, this is torture porn now.
Like, for Saw 5, I would say that it had one of the most inventive looking traps, which is the square one.
I agree.
And how Strawn managed to get out of it. It's really ingenious. Like,
It is.
I didn't think you could do that, but he did it, and it worked.
I just wish it wasn't so boring that I would be more interested in the film.
Same.
Yeah, no, I mean,
That-
it's kind of a double-edged sword with Saw, because I really like the lore, but at the same time, it's really convoluted.
Very.
Like, Saw 4 takes place in the middle of, like 5 takes place in the middle of 4, 4 takes place in, like, the middle and after 3.
6 takes place 2 minutes after the 4th one.
Yeah, no.
I think 7 has John Kramer with a baseball hat when he was you guys know that scene?
Oh, yeah.
I remember. Oh my god.
He has the whole "How do you do, fellow kids" kind of vibe.
I know. It's just like, oh man, especially with the timeline, just like, oh, it's very irritating.
I get that. I don't find it irritating. I just find it hilarious, just because of how it's one of those, like, let's see how insane this could get, and how it's supposed to fit in with all the time frame. That with something like Jigsaw, when I saw the twist of this, I just laughed my ass off. I was like, yes, give me that convolution. I love it.
More convoluted shit.
Oh wait,
it's like
turns
John
out I
Woo.
was the killer. Oh wait, no, we're both the killers. I'm like, oh my god,
Dun, dun,
stop.
dun.
And then it's just like, oh no, it was the elephant. You're like, where'd the fucking elephant come from? Yeah, it's like it's almost like it became like a parody of itself after a while. It's like, here's a twist on top of the twist on top of the. You're just like, dude, just
Like,
stop.
how many twists are you gonna throw into it? Like, jeez.
That's what Saw 7
Again,
felt
going
like.
going back to 3. At least the first 3 films, you could follow just fine. Like, the twists weren't overly ridiculous.
No.
True. But
I'm
then
getting
Saw
a
4.
headache. I'm getting a headache now thinking
Yeah,
about
it's
this
so
freaking
convoluted.
series.
Like, Saw 7 definitely felt like the most parody of it, because of
Oh my god,
it
it was.
the main guy who made a book about how he survived, and the fact there's a
that
group
guy.
of people who survive the traps and make it like it's some kind of AA meeting. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, no.
Number
I
one
do
selling
like
book.
when Gordon shows back up and he basically is just mocking him. It's just like, oh yeah, this is great. Love it. That was a really fun scene. I'm like, yo, Cary Elwes just took that fucking check and was like, I'm just gonna have fun with this.
I agree. He's like to the scenery, and he's like, how thrilled we are to be part of your DVD and just claps
Really
Close the door.
slowly.
like slowly. I fucking love it.
Again, also the ending is just fucking great because it's just how insane it is. He's just like, "Oh, I don't think so." He just throws
I
it
don't
away.
He has a smirk like, I don't think so.
It's freaking
Throws
awesome.
it away.
It's kind of awesome and hilarious at the same time.
It's so hilarious. And when he says game over,
He's like,
It was the
"No!"
one final
the most
shot in
unintentionally
3D.
hilarious thing.
And he goes, "No, no!" It's just like, this is just. Again, my
It's
head is
actually
hurting
insane.
now thinking of all the craziness that is the Saw series.
It's all.
That is Saw.
It's Saw. You take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I know. So hard. It's again, it's kind of like the original Planet of the Apes movies. It's just like you have to deal with the absurdity of the whole thing, and you'll be fine. You'll have a good time with it. If you try to like take it seriously, the first 3 films you probably could, but the rest of them I'm just like you can take or leave.
No.
Pretty much, yeah. Like Saw 10, from what I remember, I definitely took it more seriously
Yeah, I
than
heard it was
like.
actually pretty good.
It's really good. It's one of the only films that took it seriously, which is saying a lot. Gathering it with the amount of Saw films that I'm just like, oh, this is fun. Oh, this trap is cool. All right, let's see what this dumbass can do with that, or whatever. Just
And the story of it's like, okay, Jigsaw's plan. It's like, okay, it actually makes sense.
yeah, it makes sense.
Speaking of
It-
horror properties getting bastardized, I saw that they're making a Strangers trilogy. Did you guys ever see that movie, The Strangers?
I've seen the first one, not
I
the
was about
sequel.
to say, if you've seen the
Haven't seen it at
first
all.
one, it's one of my favorite, just underrated horror films of all time. Like it genuinely freaked. Like it's good stuff. Making a trilogy
yeah.
out of it now. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Stop bastardizing like properties.
Is the
They're
sequel
probably gonna
good?
get.
I didn't see the sequel.
Okay.
They're probably gonna get David Gordon Green to direct it because they're bringing him on for.
Did
New
any of you
horror
see?
movie
Did any of you
trilogies.
see Exorcist Believer? I heard it got trashed.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet.
And that's gonna be a trilogy apparently.
Yes.
David Gordon Green's gonna do it because he did the Halloween trilogy. The new Halloween trilogy.
Supposedly, based on recent articles, he may not direct the sequels
Okay,
after the first one.
if that's the case, then like, but if he did like direct the entire trilogy, I'd be like, this is Halloween all over again.
I also don't. I'm also not a fan of possession films, so yeah, I'm probably not gonna see
I
it.
stay away from that shit. Like, no, thank you.
We'll see. I mean, like, I haven't seen The Exorcist Believer, but I've heard like people who love the Halloween sequels hate that one.
Yeah, I've
I'm
heard
like, damn.
very terrible reviews on it. Like, I'm not gonna see it because I don't like that shit. Like, demonic possessed shit like that. Ugh, that ain't for me. But I'm more to the slashers.
Speaking of Halloween, I saw the recent news of the fact that A24 was going to regain the film rights for it, but then Miramax took over it, and I'm just like, what they could have done, A24.
know. Because
That-
A24, man. Yeah.
What could I done with that? That would have been so interesting.
Yeah, it would have been very interesting. And A24 has mostly made great films, so that alone would have made me like really excited and very interested to see what they would have done.
Oh yeah, Saw
I agree.
6 was pretty ludicrous as well. Forgot about how silly that film was. You remember at the
Oh,
end
it
where-
is.
You
Yeah.
remember when Roderick at the end of the movie's like, "You killed my dad, motherfucker," and then just
No, you burn in hell.
yeah,
You-
and he just
like-
like melts him alive. I'm just like, oh.
The most ludicrous or most ridiculous for me, but it's still entertaining, is the beginning sequence with the woman and the bigger guy who had to like with the body parts
Oh.
cut their body parts and
Oh yeah,
put in the weight
pound of flesh
machine.
trap.
And the girl, when she was trying to cut her arm, and she would just keep doing this, like so aggressively towards her arm that her freaking teeth were her beaver teeth were showing, and it was so fucking funny. It was when I realized that I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. Stupid, but still fun. When she's just over here, just like, like grunting so hard, it's fucking hysterical.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Yeah, I know, but again, going back to Saw 6, another one is just like, you killed my dad, motherfucker! I'm like, oh man, it was funny. It made me laugh.
That's just Roderick energy.
What?
That's just Roderick energy.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, definitely.
He's mad that Steve Zahn died, so he melts this fucking guy alive. He's like, jeez, man.
You killed my brother Greg. He won't be writing that in his diary.
Oh God. Fun. You know, it's fun talking about how insane Saw became.
It is.
Oh yeah, like it has such impressive camera work in the first Saw film, and then the sequel that just gets insane. It's just crazy, and I'm just here for it.
You're
Just
just
like one of the
stopping
things
the
that-
twists.
Like one of the things I like in the first Saw, like that I picked up, it's like when it cuts to Adam, like it's very handheld, the camera. Then Gordon is very steady, and that's a very smart way to show their personality traits. It's like, okay, Adam is like really on edge, so it's like the camera is always shaky, and then Gordon's is more steady. He's the more calm and collected character. He's like, okay, I'm gonna think through this and figure out what we have to find to get out of here.
Oh
I
yeah,
was like, that's really creative directing.
I agree with that too. And I noticed that on my latest watch, and I was like, huh, it feels very shaky on Adam's end, and it felt like I was watching something that was like an interactive game in a way. Like you're actually there and just seeing where it lies there. Until I read more of it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing of the camera work that I really like was the beginning of Amanda's sequence up the trap, when it's just going like around her. It was something that this did differently that the sequels didn't do. It felt like a montage, that felt like a progression in terms of like what she's doing. Whereas in the sequels, they just do that crazy shit and then just lead to the death. Like it doesn't lead to much other than the demise. But with Amanda, there's a lot more progression.
It was the whole 360. It's like, okay, spinning around her. It's like, okay, she's released. Okay, she's freed herself, but she's timed. And then it's like, okay, they don't kill her off. She finds the body. Suspension builds up. Then the timer's almost out, and then she removes it before the time runs out. And oh yeah. Also, I love how. Oh yeah. Also the bear trap, the reverse bear trap scene. I love how the camera just zooms in on Billy the puppet's face. Is really scary. Where he's like, "Live or die, make your choice."
I just love the. I love the design of it too. It feels very manufactured. Like it feels very. You could definitely tell it's made by John Kramer, who just make things so small but so effective what it's trying to do. Whereas like in
that
sequels,
creepy laugh gets me from the puppet.
No, it gets me too.
You're like, oh,
and but the sequel, they're a lot more bigger and elaborate and more quote unquote epic. That just like, okay, one person couldn't make it. It had to be like 2 or 3.
Well, that's why he has his disciples, man.
I know.
Help him build
Yeah.
it.
Gotta make the bigger somehow. For the fans, you know?
Oh man.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, well, I guess since we've been away, what movies have you seen recently, Jacob? I saw Oppenheimer, and I saw a new Ant-Man movie, which was okay. I saw Oppenheimer, which was pretty good.
Saw Barbie, which I saw 3 times in theaters, and I love that movie.
Yes.
I
So
didn't
good.
see Barbie, unfortunately. I was just kind of like, no, not really. It's too pink. It's too colorful.
Oh, go watch the movie. It's like my theater was
I didn't
filled with adult men, adult women, it's like mostly adults, and they were laughing their asses off. Like
I'm probably gonna see it when it's on streaming, which I bet it is right now. But I haven't really been seeing a lot of movies recently. I've just been kind of. I mean, I saw a new Indiana Jones movie, which was okay.
yeah, I agree. I'm with
It wasn't
Brandon on
Kingdom of the
that.
Crystal Skull, okay? It wasn't Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, all right?
I'm with Brandon. I'm with Brandon on that. That's exactly my thoughts on Dial of the Destiny.
I also saw a new Mission Impossible, which is a lot of fun. I enjoyed that movie.
Amazing.
Again, balls to the walls action.
That final act. Holy shit.
I'm going to see Killers of the Flower Moon either next weekend or the weekend after, because
I'm gonna try.
I really enjoyed that movie. I read the book actually, and I enjoyed it, and now I'm gonna see the movie.
It was filmed in our hometown.
Yes.
No shit.
Because we both live in Oklahoma, so.
Okay, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. So that alone, it's like, okay, I'm gonna watch it because it's filmed in Oklahoma.
The new Saw film came out, which I didn't see because I'm kind of over Saw now. But I've been over Saw for a while. I'll probably see it when it comes on to streaming, but I'm like, I wasn't gonna search it. But I've heard it's actually pretty good, so who knows?
And it tries to be different too, by making John Kramer more of the main character than the typical main characters.
That alone made me like, okay, this is completely different from the other Saw movies. Just from that alone, it's like, okay, Tobin Bell's the main character. It's like, yeah, it's like that makes sense. Like seeing his point of view, and the victims that are in his traps. Like when you watch the movie and know what the story is, you're like, okay, these people deserve to die potentially.
Oh yeah. The characters are interesting too, which is saying a lot in terms of the sequels, lacking in that.
Yeah, definitely lacking the character development in the sequels. And apparently in 10, I've heard there's a lot more of that. So I can't wait to see it when I can.
I think the most recent film I watched, I saw, it was Speak No Evil. Are you familiar with that, guys?
I've heard of it.
I think I've heard of this.
Oh my god. That movie is so uncomfortable that leads to an ending that messed me up for days.
Ooh.
Have you ever seen Hereditary? That film.
I have. It's one of my favorite horror films. Love it. Very fucked up.
That film straight fucked with me. That's all I'll say.
I watched that shit in theaters.
Ooh, man, how's that?
Oh, man.
I watched. I'll give you one word. So I saw it for the first time with my parents.
Oh no! I saw that shit with one of my best friends, and we both were like disturbed with what was going on. But when they got to that final act, when I saw the corner, I literally went to my best friend and was like, and she was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Look at that! Look at that!" And then she saw it, and then she grasped my arm real tight too, because she didn't realize until she saw it, and she was shitting bricks. It was
Sounds about
fucking
right.
terrifying.
But, yeah, I think that's about it. We've talked about Saw. We talked about what we liked and how ludicrous it's become over the years, and yeah.
Other than that, I've mostly been harassing Britton about watching the last one series.
Yeah, he has for the past couple months now, and I've been lazy. I haven't gotten around to it.
I do have one question, and it's for both of you. What is your favorite Saw trap?
Ooh. Verse Bear Trap is definitely, obviously, a very iconic trap. Let's see. I do like the Angel Trap because I do think that's a cool trap. I also like, trying to think of other traps. Because there are a lot of them. Shoot. Dang.
One of them for me was the rack trap in Saw 3.
Oh, it's like his body parts twist and then his head twist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
That's-
Ugh.
Oh, so grisly.
Yeah.
It's so creative too. Something so
I do
small,
like the yeah.
just so
I was like,
effective.
ugh, that made me
Talk
squeam.
about a cruel and unusual way to go out.
Yeah, no kidding.
I do like the pound of flesh trap where you have to cut off your body parts, and whoever weighs the most doesn't get bolt screwed in their head.
From Saw 6. Yeah. Which brings me to another favorite trap from Saw 6. The carousel trap. Like the 6 people going around the circle.
Yeah, that was a very unique trap. I think it was like only 2 get to live, but then the rest die. Yeah.
And so the people had to convince the guy to save them. And you get to know about the characters through that process, which is a very creative way.
I like the one with the cars in 7 when you have to peel their skin off. That was fun.
And
also, it happened to a racist dickhead, so I was like, you know what? I don't feel too bad about this.
Even though it has the most well-known actor besides Cary Elwes, which is Chester Bennington from Linkin Park.
Linkin Park. R.I.P.
Who's probably the best actor out of the whole film besides Cary Elwes.
I agree. I was like, oh, Chester Bennington. Like, loved you in Linkin Park, but you can act. R.I.P.
Yeah.
I would say another favorite trap of mine that I think is really unique. I don't know what the name is, but one of the victims, their eyes are sewn shut, but their mouth is sewn shut. See no evil, speak no evil.
Yeah, that's what I call it too.
I was like, okay, I like that one. That one's very unique.
I think Saw 6 has a lot of my favorite traps in it, and they're just super creative.
Whereas I like the breathing trap. Now that you mentioned 6.
Yeah, or the maze as well.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Well, it's like the ice blocks from 4.
Yes.
Standing on the
crushes
thing.
Johnny Walver's head.
That's another one where the just absurdity just gets so they just kept him captive for 2 years. Really? I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't happen. I mean, there have been cases where girls were held captive for 20 years. So I'm not saying it's utterly ridiculous, but I was kind of like, okay, this is a little bit.
Especially with John Kramer about to die. It's what can we do with him? But
I think Spiral has the most unoriginal traps. They just felt like recycled goods.
I agree. There's some alright traps.
Yeah.
The one trap I thought was pretty decent was the one that involved the glass. When Chris Rock's character was trying to save one.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that,
like for me, like the finger trap, like okay, he has to, you know, basically like pull all of his fingers off so he can live. But there are so many things I can nitpick on that trap alone. It's like, okay, he has all this room and he can just easily walk out of the water and just wait for help.
That, and it keeps transitioning to other stuff going on, and I'm just like, dude, go back to the trap. Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
like this is, oh my god. Or the first trap in the opening where that guy has to rip out his own tongue so he can live, but he would have already been dead because ripping out your own tongue, like you'd already be dead by that. So
Especially with the train. Cool death though, but
yeah,
that
cool.
was it.
That's pretty much it.
But aside from that, I think that's it. Yeah, we've covered all I think we could. What movie for next time? Well, I don't know. Have you seen The Lost Boys, Jacob?
No, I haven't.
Oh, fuck.
I have. It's a fun movie.
I've heard of it, but haven't seen it.
I don't know. I don't know what movie we should pick for, or I should pick for next week. Oh, we already covered Halloween.
The theme song here.
We could talk about how absurd the Scream films became, but that's beside the point.
That's for another episode.
We haven't talked Alien yet. You want to talk about Alien?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Alien it is.
I'm like, yeah, Alien.
Fucking love Alien. Actually love it more than Aliens. That's one of my other hot takes. Well, I guess it's kind of a cold take because it's sort of a debate on which one's better. I think it's Alien, but
I like the first one more, even though I personally love Aliens. But yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Aliens is a very good movie. I just like the first one a lot more. Yeah, Alien it is. I guess we can sign out here. Also, I'm getting really hungry. So
Me too.
But thanks for joining us, Brandon. It's been fun. I'm glad that Brit and Jacob is finally back. It's been a while.
No problem. And thanks for inviting me for the podcast.
No problem.
All right, Jacob, you can sign us off.
Okay, we're back. This has been yet another episode of Brit and Jacob the Movies. I have been Jacob.
And I'm Britton.
And I'm Brandon.
And our guest, Brandon.
And we do it for the love of the movies.
Yes, we do.
All right. Until next time, everyone.